Chelsea, I'm calling you guys out, man. Like, this guy is the guy that you need, like, not Garnacho. I don't want to diss on anybody, but I think that he is literally the advanced Garnacho. Like, this is who you thought you were signing when you were signing Garnacho. Trust me, he's the guy for you. My people, welcome back to the Open Play podcast. I'm your host today, Ikena, aka Roy United IK, joined by my co-host, Dai, aka Statman Dai. How you feeling today, my bro?
Feeling absolutely awesome, man. I've been looking forward to this one. Let's do it.
Yes, sir, because today is actually a special day for Dai because we're going to be talking about the 5 players that we should be looking forward to in the World Cup. And in order to execute this episode, we are going to be using a platform that Dai on his own developed. Dai, can you just brief this platform for the people?
Yeah, so I've been working on building these pluggable scouting reports of the different players in Europe's top 5 leagues. I want to expand that at some point, but right now it's just the European top 5 leagues. So that's England, Spain, France, Germany, and I am forgetting one, right? Italy,
Germany,
Italy,
Italy.
Italy. So it's going to be very graphic heavy. We're going to be going over some of the players selected here. But it's been really fun to make for me. It includes a player constellation, so you can see the different points in the player's galaxy and who is comparable to them. An action map, shot map, as well as a season heat map, and then some of the percentiles, as well as a grading system. That's some of this is still a work in progress, but I'm actually
Yeah.
really proud about where it is right now. But
I'm
so
also
some
proud,
stuff
bro.
is there. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Bro, because I've like me and Dave have been going over this. Like I've been Dave's eyes, like everything I've seen it already. You guys are seeing it for the first time. Me, I've already seen everything, bro, and I can tell you that it looks ridiculously good. I mean, you guys are going to see it. You're going to see a lot of fancy like designs and everything. I can tell you that some other platforms are not doing this, man. But my boy here did this, and we're going to use it for this episode. Soft launch it a bit, and you guys can see. But yeah, like I said, we're going to be talking about the 5 players to watch out for in the 2026 World Cup because, as we well know, the World Cup is a time for people to rise to the occasion. It's a time where people get a lot of attention on their hands. And yeah, I think that these players are players who are going to rise to the occasion for their country, and then they're going to kind of attract a lot of attention from teams around Europe after for a potential move away from their current clubs. But yeah, with that, let's just get into the episode. And the first player I have on the list right now is Antonio Nusa. This guy is an absolute baller, man. Like he doesn't get that much attention at the moment because he plays in Leipzig with the likes of Jan Diomande, and for good reason. Diomande is attracting most of the interest right now at Leipzig, but I can tell you that Nusa should be attracting maybe not as much interest, but it should be attracting almost as much interest because this guy is an absolute baller. Like the way I literally discovered him is that I went to go and watch a Leipzig game for Diomande, but I stayed for Nusa. That's how good he is. Like I think that he's so good. One of the first things that you notice when you watch him is how good he is in carrying the ball, like how good of a dribbler he is. He's the type of player that you can kind of like rely on to keep possession for your team. Like, if you play in transition, like he's that type of player. Like he's just so good in keeping possession. Like that's his best quality in my opinion. And one of the things that he does so well is winning fouls as well. Like this guy wins so many fouls. I think in the Bundesliga right now, he ranks second for most fouls won, which is mighty impressive. And then the way I think that this can transfer to a team like Norway is that Norway, they're kind of like the underdogs right now in the World Cup. And I think that they need people who are good in transition like this guy. I think that this guy can really, really step up for Norway. I've watched him in some recent games as well, like, the Italy game, the Israel game as well. And I think he was really, really good in those games. I think he scored in one or two of them, or maybe even both of them. But yeah, he just looks like a really, really, really fun player. I think that he doesn't get as much attention now, but I think that after the World Cup, you're going to be seeing a lot of people interested in this guy. Like people are going to be asking about him and wondering why they didn't know about him before. I think that that's the type of player that he is. I think he's going to derive a lot of attention. I think if I wanted to compare him, I think I'll compare him to a player like Cunha and a player like Yildiz. The way I'll compare him to a player like Yildiz is how he has that positional discipline of like kind of like sticking to the left wing, but then he's not as drawn to the ball as someone as Cunha. you can see in Cunha's shot map that, like, he's kind of drawn to the ball. He kind of takes up the center. That's because he's kind of following the ball wherever it goes. He more plays as like an inverted, like, winger. I think it's like Cunha in the sense of, like, the way he dribbles, his low center of gravity, the way he's strong on the ball with the drive and everything. And yeah, he's just a really, really good player. And I think that he's one to watch at the World Cup.
Yeah, man. Just on some of the statistical aspects, exactly as you pointed out, Nusa has an exceptional ability to both drive and is an exceptional dribbler. This season he's in the 95th percentile for dribbles won, as well as winning fouls in the 94th percentile, 90th percentile for dribbles attempted, as well as having progressive carries in the 85th percentile. So this is like a ball magnet in the sense that he picks up the ball, he knows how to drive with it. He's very, very good, technically gifted. Just a really like exceptional player. Like Ikenna said, like when you watch Leipzig play, you go there, you watch your Monday, but then Nusa like is very, very attractive. This season he scored 4 goals, 3 assists. One of the things that's really interesting so far is that he isn't like an exceptional finisher.
Yeah,
He's a fine finisher, and like perhaps you can see that based on the shot map. You can see a lot of his shots are not of a very high XGOT, which is expected goals on target. Part of the reason there is that like that's the part of his game he still needs to clean up the end product. I think if he ever adds that part of his game, we're talking about a truly weak winger because he already knows how to separate. He's already exceptionally good at winning fouls. He already like dribbles at a very high rate. Um, like you said, like he has positional discipline. Even here on the comparison chart, we can see that, like you mentioned, Yildiz was the number one comparison to him, as well as
yeah,
Cunha at number 10. Um, just like a really exceptional player. I think he's really fun and exciting to watch. I really, really want to see that end product come together because I think if
yeah.
he adds goals and like tangible assists to his game, it's very, very scary player, man. I'm really, really excited about his future.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see him at the World Cup. I think that he can really step up for Norway. Obviously, Norway right now, I think they have a really good attack in Nusa, Haaland, Solot, and Odegaard. I think that Nusa is somebody who can really step up in games, and I think that he's going to play a really big part for Norway. Like I said, they're kind of going in as underdogs. They're going to play more in transition, and this guy is the kind of guy that you want in your team if you're playing like that. The way he maintains possession, the way he carries the ball forward, like everything about him is just special. And with that, the next player that I'm going to talk about is a player kind of similar to him in Abde Al Zuli. Now, some of you might know that name and some of you might not, but this guy is an absolute baller as well. I like to call him Ganacho without an ego. I have like a funny joke about that. Like I posted it on Twitter as well. Ganacho without the ego, and that is exactly what he is. He is Ganacho without the ego. One thing that you notice about him is how much he gets involved in defensive actions. That was actually something funny that we are talking about before this because as you can see, he's classified as a wing back, and the system just cannot account for the amount of defensive actions that he gets involved in. But like he just looks like a wing back man, and obviously that's partly due to the way Robert is playing. They more play on the counter and everything, so they need other players to kind of like be involved in defending as well as attacking, right? But Abdiazuli is a very, very, very good player. I think he's a player that a lot of teams could do with because I think a lot of teams right now, some of them like they need wingers, right? And we're looking at Chelsea, they need a winger that is not Garnacho. This guy is literally the Garnacho replacement. He's literally the Garnacho without an ego. Like literally everything that he does, the way he carries the ball forward, the way he plays as well, everything is just good about him. And I really like watching him play for Morocco as well at the AFCON. I think he was really good at the AFCON for Morocco. I think that he's just the kind of player that you want in your team. This season, he has kind of like refined his output as well. He has scored 7 goals in the league as well as 7 assists. I think last season he had like 2 goals and 2 assists or something. So you can see that he's improving as seasons pass. And one thing that is really interesting about him is that 6 out of those 7 goals have come in the box. That's actually one thing to point out with him. Like he gets in the box a lot and he's scoring from inside the box. Like a lot of wingers are scoring from outside the box, bangers, that XG is kind of low, but that goal count is kind of high. But him, on the other hand, is going from inside the box. He's a winger that likes to get involved in the box. He's a winger that gets involved in defense as well as attack. He's a good dribbler. And there's just every reason to be excited by him. And I think that he's a player that is going to attract attention at the World Cup. I think a lot of people, or at least a good amount of people already know about him. But I think that after this World Cup, people are actually going to be asking for his signature.
Absolutely, man. Abdi is really fun. The statistical profile is a little hard to look at right now, not because it's bad, but because again, there's still that bottleneck I do have with where this is classifying as a wing back. So some of these like totals you should take with a bit of a grain of salt. But we can just look at the stuff that he has done that is impressive, even amongst the fact that he's being classified with wing backs. Shot total is always high. I think one of the things that he's really good at doing is you can actually see on the action map is that he's very good at taking the ball from deep and pushing it and driving it forward. That's the kind of wing that we're talking about here. Someone who's comfortable in getting the ball deep. And Betis will need that a lot in transition, getting the ball and be able to have an outlet who's able to push the ball forward. Does a lot of really good defensive work. Like Ikena mentioned, and I just think that this is like a really exceptional finisher as well. Lots of gold. Gold is always good. When you see this map, if you see the shot map, gold is good because that means that the players are generating very, very good finishes because they're placing it in places that goalkeepers are finding it more difficult to save. Just an exceptional finisher, takes a lot of shots, kind of guy that I think can scale up. The finishing, we're here to see here or there because last season we kind of struggled with that. Maybe this is the season where that kind of XG is kind of rebounding out. So will be remains to be seen. I definitely agree with Ken that this kind of player I think should get moved this season. And especially after the World Cup, I think he's definitely the kind of player that his price tag is going to go all the way up. He's going to probably go for something in north of 40, maybe 50 million. If the right team gets him, that this is the kind of player that you can plug in immediately. He's going to give you efforts. He's going to drive your team. He's going to be able to finish chances as well. 7 assists can be scoffed at as well. We'll see if that's sustainable. But again, offensive engine, I think he's exceptionally quick, very hard to get off the ball, very exceptional player. I would really be excited about him.
Yeah, and for teams that should go after him, like I said, Chelsea, I'm calling you guys out, man. Like, this guy is the guy that you need, like, not Garnacho. I don't want to diss on anybody, but I think that he is literally the advanced Garnacho. Like, this is who you thought you were signing when you were signing Garnacho. Trust me, he's the guy for you. Well, with the next player on the list, I'm going to be talking about Pape Gueye. Now, this one, he's not as young and as upcoming as the other players I already talked about, right? But I felt the need to bring him into the conversation because of the AFCON that just happened. And I don't think that he got the attention that he deserved at that AFCON, especially not winning player of the tournament after Senegal supposedly won. I mean, we all know what happened after that, right? Like, Morocco have won and everything. But after Senegal won the AFCON and Mane
They
was
absolutely
given
won.
the
Let's make it clear. Senegal won
yeah.
that AFCON. Let's make it clear.
I
Let's
mean,
make it very clear.
bro, Morocco. I
Someone
mean,
making it clear.
rules are
Make it on
rules,
purpose.
man. And I
I
wanted
don't care
Morocco
about
to
the
win, so I
rules.
don't even care, man. I don't even care. But yeah, Senegal won. You know, Senegal won. Senegal won on the pitch. You see, like they won. They have bragging rights and everything. But yeah, I think that Pape Gueye was really good in the entirety of the AFCON. I thought he was Senegal's best player. I thought even in the final, like he scored in the final as well. He scored the winning goal, and I thought that he deserved to win the player of the tournament. But even if he didn't win, I don't think that he got the attention that was deserved after that tournament. And that's why I felt they need to bring him up. Like, I just think that he's a very, very good player. I think he's a very good passer. One of the main things that you notice in his passing is the way he plays those diagonal balls. Like, that's his favorite kind of ball to play. Like, he almost plays it like a centre back to a certain degree. Like, he plays it any part of the pitch, whether it was on the left, whether it was on the right, but he always plays that ball. That ball is always on for him. And he's what I like to call a gentle box crusher. Like, that is versus like, an aggressive box crusher like a McTominay or a Leon Goretzka who just kind of like crashes into the box with like a lot of like running power and everything. He's more like a gentle box crusher, kind of goes his way into the box, but he also takes a lot of shots from outside the box as well. That's one of the things that you notice about him with him as well. Like he takes a lot of shots from outside the box, and he's one of those players that can get involved in goals, whether from inside or outside the box. He's a very good midfielder to have in that aspect. He's very dynamic. I think that in terms of defensive contributions as well, tackles and interceptions are really high. I think that he's a very good player and a very reliable player. He's not necessarily a player that is going to like crash into players. Like he's not a Valverde or a Casemiro or something like that. He's not going to crash into players, but he's more clean in the way that he wins deals and tackles and everything. I just think that if Senegal were meant to make any sort of run at the World Cup, they're in a group with like France and Norway. If they're going to make any run in the World Cup, I think that he's going to have a big part to play. And I think that he's going to attract attention after this World Cup. I think it's going to attract the attention that he deserved after the AFCON. And I'm looking at certain teams that are going to, that I think should sign him, but I'm going to go over that after you present your points on him.
Yeah, Pape Gueye is really, really, really fun player. Like you mentioned, the thing that you stand out to you immediately, just looking at that action map, lots and lots of deep balls. It's his favorite thing to do. 96 percentile for long balls total. This is not even like accurate long balls. They're just taking long balls. 96 percentile. Another thing that's really cool about him, 95th percentile in fouls drawn. This is a guy that knows how to hold up the ball. He's very hard to get off the ball. Stands at 187 centimeters, just over 6'1", I believe, 6'1", 6'2". So he's a very big body, very physically imposing. Accurate long balls are even in the 94th percentile. So not only does he take them at a high rate, he makes them at a very high rate. And like you mentioned, shots outside the box, 88th percentile. Takes lots of shots on the season. Like not. It hasn't been great. It hasn't been like lovely looking at in terms of that, but he's still been able to net 3 goals. One of those was a penalty. The other another one coming from a corner. Just a really fun player, man. Like it's unfortunate he's a bit on the older side.
Yeah.
And older, I should say, for somebody who's 27, he's coming into his physical prime. So it's
Yeah.
not like I would I would ideally wish he was like 24, 23. Of course he's not. It's unfortunate. Not in a bad way, but more so that for profiling and like being able to scale him up at better clubs. I think the kind of clubs he's going to be limited to just kind of takes a little bit of the excitement out of it. But I think he's so exciting because he's the kind of player that can probably play as like a traditional six. Very, very good on the ball. Should be able to spray passes up and down across the pitch. Defensive contributions sits there. You can see how many of those he's sitting in front of the back line, is being able to mop up, get some tackles. And surprisingly, even though it's very low number, you can see some of the dribbles there. He's not afraid to dribble in those areas. Maybe he is 25, given amount of games. So on that, about maybe it's less than a dribble a game, basically. And then just some comparisons there, just looking at him. We have some Casemiro, we have some Locatelli, and we have some Maximiliano Arnold.
A
Kind of
bit
really
of
number of
everything.
names. Exactly. Kind of definitely a little bit of everything. I think he's a really fun player. I think he's a really fun player.
Yeah, he's a really fun player, and I think that he's a player that a team like Bayern could do with. I'm not.
So
I
so I you know what's really funny? Bayern
Yeah.
was the club I had in mind.
Yeah.
I really thought about it. I'm so happy you brought up Bayern because it's exactly what I was thinking about as well. I don't know. It's tough,
He's
Sima. It's
I
tough.
think he's the kind of player, like, Bayern don't always go for like the 19-year-olds and everything. I feel like sometimes they like these guys who are entering their physical prime, and I just feel like, well, Goretzka is leaving when at the end of the season, right? Like, if
This
I'm not
summer, yeah,
mistaken.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that this guy is kind of like the ideal replacement for Goretzka, and he all respect to Goretzka, like Goretzka doesn't give you that much on the ball. He just gives you some stuff off the ball, like, his work rate and he's crashing into the box and everything. This guy gives you stuff on the ball and off the ball. And I think that he's kind of like the ideal replacement for Goretzka. I think that he's entering his physical prime, like he said, and I just feel like he would be very, very ideal for Bayern.
I do wonder if there's a bit of Bayern have been scorned with a lot of these like mid-end deals.
Mm,
Not not
mm-hmm.
when I say mid, I don't mean like mid as in bad. I mean as in like you spend like 20 to 35 million. They've done the Palina was of course a lot more than that. But they did the Palina deal. I think is one of the deals that has really scarred them in terms of that. I remember seeing a report earlier this season that Bayern stated that the only players they would be going from going forward is they would fill out the back end of their team with academy players, and then they would only spend big money on superstars. They no longer wanted to buy these like mid-end like guys who are 30, 35, 40 million who will be squad players, and then it's like in a year or two they're already thinking about replacing them. They signed Palina, and Palina basically played like 15, 16, 17 games, and
Yeah,
that was it. Like they're ready to ship him off. So that would be my only concern with Bayern specifically. But I think that even if he doesn't go to Bayern, there is a team out there that can use him. Senegal used him exceptionally well. I think he's going to have a really good tournament, and a lot of what they do well at this tournament, I think is going to rely on just how good he is. I think he's that
exactly.
exceptional for sure.
Exactly. But with that, we move on to the next player, which is Fermin Lopez. Now, this is a player that doesn't really need much introduction. I think most people already know who he is and how good of a player he is. The reason why he did make this list, however, is because of the impact I think he's going to have at this World Cup. Because Spain are a team, obviously a very, very good team, possession side, they keep possession really well. But Spain are a team who don't really have like goal scoring attackers right now. Like they don't have people who can rely on goals, and I think that they depend on getting goals in all areas of the pitch rather than just relying on like your winger or your striker. And I think that that's where a player like Femi Lopez could come in because I think that they could really do with somebody like him. Right now in the league, he has 6 goals and 6 assists, if I'm not mistaken. He has the most GA for Spanish midfielders in Europe's top 5 leagues. This is a player that is performing really well on the output end of things. And I think that he's a player who undeniably has to have an impact on that Spain team. He has to play. I don't think he's necessarily going to be a starter, but he definitely has to play. And the reason why I put him in this list and the reason why I think about him like this is because of a player like Dani Olmo, who had a very big part to play in the 2024 Euros as well. Like Dani Olmo was not a starter in that Spain team, but he had such an impact off the bench that it was just undeniable how good he was. Some people were even calling him like the player of the tournament for Spain. I think I was one of those people at some point calling him player of the tournament. I think he had like 3 goals, 2 assists in that tournament. Like that's a crazy returns in like 5, 6 games, right? So I think that Fermin Lopez has something like that on the cards for him. Olmo isn't really performing at his highest level right now, but Femi Lopez, I think, is in terms of output, and I think that he's really a player that they could use. Like I said, he's not necessarily going to be a starter right here. I think he has only ever started 1 game for Spain in his entire career, which was recently against Serbia, where he did provide an assist, right? So I think that he's a player who can have a really big part to play in terms of potential moves away. Last season, he was linked with Chelsea, but you know, that was kind of like shut down and everything. I don't think he's going to get a move away from Barcelona. I don't think he wants a move away from Barcelona, but this is just in terms of the impact I think he's going to have at this World Cup.
Absolutely. Like you mentioned with Fermin is a play finisher. That is the appeal, especially as a midfielder, specifically as a midfielder. He is a play finisher. 100% out for shots total, 100% out for shots off target as well. Not sometimes we look at things like off target and we assume, oh, he's a bad shooter. I think sometimes if you take enough shots, you're going to miss a lot of shots.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
reason. That should be the level of optimism at that position. He was 99% out for big chances created, 99% out for assists, 99% out for shots on target, 99% out for XG, 99% out for dribbles won, 98% out for dribbles attempted, 97% out for big chances missed. This is a play finisher. This is a guy who at volume takes a lot of shots, makes a lot of shots, creates shots, misses shots, but missing is not a bad thing because it means you are taking them, especially when you convert it at the level that he has. 4 of his goals have been assisted. 1 has come from a corner. 1 has come on the counter this season. You see a lot of you see a lot of goal, like I mentioned before, on that short map. And you also looking at his action map, you see a player who does get involved in some of the defensive work. You can see a lot of it being done high there in the channels. And he's also really good at just getting on the ball and being able to involve himself in general final third build up. Some of the comparisons we have here: Dani Olmo, Ada Gola, Ryan Cherki, Will Foden, and Bilal El Kanous. Like just a really exceptional kind of playmaking and play finishing midfielder. I completely agree with you that he's going to be pivotal to Spain. I would be interested to see if he's going to start. He might not. Even if he doesn't, he's one of the first few names that's going to come off the bench. He's going to be able to make an inside impact and he's going to get himself involved in the game. He doesn't shy away from it. And he's going to be really, really exciting. Could not agree more.
Absolutely. And with that, we come to the final player on the list, which is Ismail Kone. Now, I don't know how many people really know about this guy. He plays for Sassuolo and he's a Canadian and he's a good player. I don't think his ceiling is as high as some of the players that we've mentioned. I don't think that his ceiling is like that high, but I do think that he's a very reliable player to have in your team. I think that he has been decent for Sassuolo this season. I wouldn't say he has been exceptional. To be honest, he's one of the players I have the least information about out of all these top 5 players, but I think that he is a very good player, and I think that he is a very important player for Canada right now. I don't think he started too much at the Copa America in 2024, but I think that since then he has kind of like made his way into the Canadian national team. I remember in the Copa America, actually, the semi-final where they got knocked out by Argentina, he played in that game, and I thought he played quite well. And I just think that he's a very good player to have in your team. I think that, in terms of his profile and the way that he plays, he's more of like a box-to-box midfielder. He gets you a few goals, here and there. I think he has like 6 goals this season. Like that's very good returns for a midfielder. Again, not a midfielder that like crashes into tackles, not a midfielder that you can align with like those dangerous and like heavy slide tackles like your Casemiro's and your Valverde's and whoever, but very reliable in terms of defensive actions as well. And I just think that he has that high work rate as well, getting involved in the opposition half as well as his half. He's good at high pressing. He's just good. He just has all these traits that I think could be very useful to either a team in Europe or for the Canadian national team. I think they're going to play a big part in the Canada national team in this World Cup. I think that Canada were good to make any run whatsoever. I think that you see Kone on the back end of a lot of that. And yeah, I just think that he's one of the players to watch out for. Like I said, I don't think his ceiling is like that high. And I don't think like he scales to like a Bayern or one of those big clubs. But I think a team in the Premier League like an Aston Villa or an Everton or teams with like European aspirations, but not necessarily like the biggest clubs in Europe. I think that those are the type of teams that he kind of like scales to. You never know with these players, but at the same time, I just think that that's as high as like his kind of ceiling goes. But I do think that he's a reliable player to have in your team.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything you kind of said is completely agree with. Definitely feels like I don't think he's like the most creative midfielder. Assists are not everything, but he hasn't registered an assist this season. Box crashing is 100% what he's not box crashing is the wrong word, but rather he is a box-to-box midfielder. He does get into the box. That's how he's able to get his 6 goals that come to him on the season. Um, Even if you just look at his pass map, it's a lot of deep passing. So he's still going to be feel comfortable getting towards into progression. I don't think he's like an exceptional progressor, but like I think he's fine. Like I don't think you're ever going to have any issues. He's 82nd percentile for progression as well as 82nd percentile for fouls drawn. So, very comfortable on the ball and getting it forward and being able to handle a progressive workload. And, carry distance was at 79 percentile, which sometimes can be indicative of physical profile. It's also how you get to be a box-to-box midfielder. You have to be a very imposing physical player. And I think that that's going to be exactly the kind of things he's able to do. Finishing has been pretty good. Again, sometimes like single season sample size for me is never that indicative of long-term finishing ability. So I would take some of that with a grain of salt, but nothing really stands out in his game. You're not going to get anything right now that is in the 90th percentile where you're looking at an elite skill, but just a very like calm, all well-rounded player where 64th percentile accurate long ball, 60th percentile in carries, and then 54th percentile for shots on target. So like I said, not exceptionally great, but you can see in the comparisons, as you can mention, Scott McTominay is one of the few players you can make that comparison with. Sander Berg as well, who feels a lot like in that mold as well, and then Ryan Gravenberch, which don't know if I love that, but like I said,
it's a work in
it's fine.
progress.
It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. So, but I think it's fine. Like I said, I think he's a pretty okay player. Canada will definitely, I think, will be able to give Canada a lot. At that kind of level where Canada is not the expectation of like in Germany, Spain, or in
Yeah.
France, of these like truly elite countries. Having a player like this is nothing to scoff at, and I think that he'll be able to more or less fit in and be able to do a job.
Yeah, very much so. And these are the 5 players that we have for you guys right now. But let us know in the comments what players you think are going to perform at this World Cup. Which player have you scouted for the upcoming World Cup, and what team do you think that are going to go to? Let us know what you think about the players that we've listed as well. And let's know what you think about this platform, some of these designs that he's putting up right now, because this was very, very, very intuitive. And I also think that it just looks really, really effing good, man. So Daye, congratulations on that, man. Honestly,
Thank you so much.
me and you are going to keep this platform for ourselves, and you guys can just like F off, man. But yeah, with that comes the end of this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you made it this far. Follow us on social media as well. The Open Play Podcast on X, Instagram, and TikTok. And yeah, thank you guys again for tuning in, and we hope to see you guys again next time. Safe.
Peace, guys.